This is the MK61 from Gamakay, which honestly is a pretty nondescript, boring name for a keyboard. And you may be looking at this and thinking to yourself, Yang, I've seen this keyboard before. This is the Keymove 61 Snowfox that you reviewed earlier. Well, yes, they do look very similar, but they're actually quite a bit different because you see, aside from these funky looking keycaps, this keyboard doesn't use normal mechanical switches. No, these use optical switches. Well, are they any good though? Is this keyboard any good though? You know what, actually, I feel that if you're a gamer, you might be interested in something like this. But before we get into why that is, a quick disclaimer that this keyboard was sent to me by Banggood, but as usual, my opinions are of my own, and as usual as well, I'm going to call it as it is. With that out of the way, let's get into reviewing the Keymove. No, I mean the Gamakay MK61. Right, so at time of writing this review, the keyboard goes for about $49 over at Banggood and is available in two colors, black or white. I have the white variant here with me today, and I also opted for the Gateron green switches. We'll get back to this a bit later. The keyboard is pretty no frills when it comes to connectivity, as it only connects via a USB-C cable that is removable, so no fancy wireless or whatever here. The cable has got an elbow connector at the Type-C end, is braided and is about 1.8 meters in length. And remember how I said that this keyboard is pretty no frills? Yeah, you don't even get raising feet on this keyboard, and I mean, come on. I don't believe that it's all that expensive of an add-on, and so I would have really loved to see one here, as it does help with the ergonomics. The keycaps are PBT double shot, and they come in this pudding design that really help that really bright RGB to shine through, but the one thing that really bugs me is the inconsistencies in the printing, as some legends actually look thicker while some look thinner, and this can even occur on the same keycap, and this really bugs my OCD. Though other than that, they're really nice to touch and type on. And speaking of typing, let's talk about the main thing about this keyboard, the optical switches. Now, I don't know if you guys know this already, optical switches, as the name implies, uses light to actuate the switch rather than the traditional mechanical contact of two copper pieces. Because of this, optical switches tend to last longer than their mechanical counterparts because of fewer moving parts and can have a much shorter actuation distance. With that out of the way, these Gateron Optical greens really trigger my OCD, as the plungers are really loose and wobbly, such that the keycaps can just look skewed from a little bit of movement, and placing your fingers on the keycaps and moving them around, you can definitely feel how loose these switches are, which is really bad. The funny thing is that in the box, Gamakay also includes samples for the blue and brown optical Gateron switches, and I found these switches to be much better in terms of that wobbliness and stability, with the browns being the best, followed by the blues, and then of course the greens. By the way, one of the other nice features of this keyboard is that the switches are removable and hot swappable without needing to mess with the keyboard, but bear in mind that optical switches can only be used in an optical keyboard, and the same goes, for mechanical keyboards, so you can't interchange them. Just like their mechanical counterparts, the blues are clicky and the browns are tactile, but the greens are actually a little bit different in that they're linear, and I found that using them compared to my Gateron browns, these switches definitely have a much lower actuation point at just 2mm, and they don't require a lot of force to actuate as well at just 35 grams. The one thing that I didn't really like, however, was just how loud the keystrokes sounded despite being linear switches. Have a listen. Alright, so as you may have noticed, this is a 60% keyboard, and so if you need to use the arrow keys or the F1, F2, whatever, or just mess around with the lighting of this keyboard, then you'll need to use a combination keystroke with the FN key on the bottom right corner. Based on my usage, as someone who does use the arrow keys a lot, I actually found it quite alright and natural for me to hold the FN key to activate the arrow keys and reach other functions. And speaking of typing, I typed this entire review out on it, and I have to say that it's actually quite nice as a typist keyboard, although it is just a bit loud for my tastes. And as far as gaming goes, because of how light and how little force these keys need to actuate, I definitely found myself able to noticeably be faster with this keyboard, but after a while, I just went back to my normal keyboard because I found that the keys were actually too easy to actuate, that while resting my fingers on this keyboard, like in an FPS game, even the slightest bit of force has caused me to accidentally reload or move or perform actions when I don't mean to, and that has actually affected my gaming negatively. But hypothetically, if someone trained to use switches this light, then you could definitely get an advantage in your games. Alright, so let me sum things up with the Gamakay MK61, and it has to come full circle, coming to the price of the keyboard. You can commonly find this keyboard at about $49.99 US on Banggood, and honestly, at that price, I think it's a pretty good keyboard to try out if you're interested in optical switches, want a keyboard that honestly looks pretty nice and minimalistic, has really nice RGB shine through, and overall is a great typing experience. Just about the only things I didn't like were the switches with mine, but again, you could just opt for the blues or browns, as those are a lot better than the greens in terms of key wobble and stability. But there's also the keycaps if you're a little bit OCD, or maybe that I would have also loved to see some adjustable feet on this keyboard. If none of those really bother you or you're willing to look past them, then honestly, I can say that you should really give the Gamakay MK61 a shot, because I really do enjoy typing on this keyboard with its optical switches, and I think that you will too. Well, assuming that you get the brown version. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Do the YouTube thing of giving it a like if you liked it, drop a comment down below on maybe what you think about this keyboard and maybe this video, and don't forget to subscribe and stay notified for any of my new videos the moment they go live with the bell icon. Yeah. Oh, and also I'll have a link to purchase down in the description below. My name is Yang the Tech Rodent, and you know what? Okay, I'm gonna get real with you guys. I actually like testing and reviewing keyboards, and I have at least 2 to 3 more keyboards lined up for review, and some Switch reviews as well, so yeah, they're really fun to test. I'll see you guys in the next review, which probably won't be a keyboard one, but should be equally as fun.